So after seeing the three-dimensional example, your question probably is why would we choose this method over the substitution or elimination method? For most students, the Gaussian or Gauss-Jordan or RREF method seems like a more intense method, which I completely agree with, but it's got to have some perks to it, right? Otherwise, what would be the advantage to it? Well, the perks to the matrix method is the way that a calculator, or if you are a computer programmer, the way that a program would need to be worked through. A computer program doesn't understand how to substitute and eliminate things back and forth, but it understands the array of numbers, just like a matrix is defined. So the advantage of this is these are very easy to check with your graphing calculator. Now, before when we checked them with the graphing calculator, we had to solve for y, which may or may not have been an additional step, wait for it to graph, and then double check the point of intersection. Well, there's actually an easier way. Your calculator understands the computer programming of the RREF method. So we just need the calculator to do what we want it to do. So we're going to go back to this three-dimensional example that it took us lots of steps to get it done, and we are going to double check our answers by using the graphing calculator. So pulling up my calculator here, let me slide it over so we can see this system of equations. Okay, what we need to do is we need to plug in this matrix into our graphing calculator. Well, if you see above this X inverse button here, you see that there's a matrix feature on the calculator. So we need to go into that feature. So second matrix. Okay, now it's going to list lots of things here. These are all of your possible matrices. At this point, I don't see anything else over here, and I'll show you what I mean when I enter this in. So we have to put in the matrix. Right now, all of our matrix options are blank. So we have to enter in the matrix into this calculator. So we need to go over to Edit, and we need to edit a matrix. Now, I can push up or down to select any matrix to edit. I'm just going to go ahead and use option 1, which is matrix A, just because it's the first option and it's easy to use. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter to edit it. Okay, the first thing that you have to do is you have to type in the dimensions of the matrix. Remember, that is the number of rows by the number of columns. So this matrix has 1, 2, 3 rows. And then if I look at it over here, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, because I need to include my answer column. So this is a 3 by 4 matrix. So you can see that now it has the right dimensions that we want it to be in. So all we need to do now is plug in the entries that we saw with the augmented matrix. So I need to plug in the entries that I see here, meaning just the coefficients or the numbers in front. Now I'm going to do 2, and then every time you push enter, it's just going to keep moving you to the right. If you're at the end of the right, it moves you to the next thing. So put in your number and then push enter. So 2, -1, 4, -3. So I'm just working my way through this matrix until I've got all of my entries in. So I believe that I have them all in. At this point, I heavily encourage you to double check that you've entered them in correctly, because we want the calculator to make sure it's interpreting the correct matrix. So I'm going to do that here real quick, make sure I've got all of my entries in, including the negatives where they need to go. Okay, so I've entered in my matrix. And so at this point, I am done editing it. So I need to get out of this feature. So I'm going to do quit, which is above my mode button. So second, quit, because I'm quitting editing the matrix. Now this put me back into the main screen, so I need to go back into the matrix mode. Again, matrix is above my inverse button, so I have second matrix. Now you can see under matrix A that there's dimensions there. That means we have something put into matrix A. So if we wanted to select it, that's what we would put. We will select it, but not right now. We need to tell the calculator what we want it to do with this matrix. So that's underneath the math feature. So push over to the math. We can take the determine of it, the transfer of it, and so on and so forth. You see all of these things here, okay? Most of them probably don't mean much to you at this time, but we do have a couple of them that will look familiar if we get down here far enough. So if we get down to option A, we see the REF method. That's the Gaussian method where it had ones in the diagonal and zeros below it. So if you wanted to double check it halfway through, that might be an option for you. Or we see the B method, which means it's guaranteed just to give us the right answers. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter here. So this pulls up this RREF method to the main screen, meaning it's going to reduce row echelon form it, but it needs to know what to reduce row echelon form. So once again, you go back into the matrix feature and you select what matrix that we're going to do in this option. And the only one that we have in question is matrix A. I'm going to close my parentheses for consistency, but if you skip that step, I don't think the calculator will mind. And once I do this, this is going to give me my answer. So there you see. On the left, I have ones in my main diagonals, and I have zeros every other place else. And so this gives me the answer. My X answer is 3, my Y answer is 7, and my Z answer is 0.5. Now this fraction, or this decimal, is easily convertible to a fraction, but if you've come up with decimals that aren't easily convertible, you can use your calculator to convert them into fractions, even if it is in matrix mode. So you select the fraction feature the way that you've always selected it, hit the math button, and then number 1 is convert it to a fraction. So it's going to take my matrix answer and it's going to convert it into a fraction. And so now we can see that our correct fraction format is -1/2. This matches the answers that we got before, so this confirms that we did our problem correctly and we have the right answers. So you can check all systems of equations. It doesn't matter what dimension they are, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, or something even larger, by using the graphing calculator. So that's the wonderful thing about this. When we did substitution elimination method, we didn't have that check mode because our graphing calculator didn't know how to graph 3 dimensions. Well, now it doesn't need to because it has this matrix method. And again, the advantage of the matrix method is because that's what computer programs use, meaning that's what our calculator uses to get our final answer. So you are more than welcome to check any of these answers using your graphing calculator. So if you wanted to, we also did a couple other examples in previous videos. We did this one. We solved our answer here both by elimination and the matrix method. We did this one, and we also did this one. So we can double check any one of those answers by using the same way on our graphing calculator. I'm not going to go ahead and do that for you because I think I've given you enough information to do it on your own. So this is just where I'm going to stop here.